very important speaker who needs to be known by all of you. And Ms. Marri is a Baluch political leader and a former Balochistan Assembly Minister. He's lived most of his life in exile, not by own choice, but precisely because he can't work freely in Pakistan because of hostility he's faced over a long period of time. For a short time in the 90s, well, I think you lived in Afghanistan as well, didn't you, as a refugee? You know, I don't have details about, and then, you know, he participated in 1997 elections, for the Balochistan provincial elections, and he got a large majority of votes, and he became the Minister for Road and Communication of the Balochistan state government. After that, you know, when Pakistan conducted the nuclear test, he opposed the nuclear test in 1998. And I think somehow you arrived in this country in exile as well, here, whereupon the British government criminalised him and faced Baloch. I think he spent some time in a nice prison called Baloch, which is a horrible prison. But, you know, I remember Baloch people were locked up for years, you know. Sometimes they 12 people locked up, and it's a horrible prison, and you really wanted to visit it to see what it's like. And he's one of the unique cases where the case went before a court, before a jury, and both Hyrbyair and Fez were acquitted of terrorism charges completely. So it's a unique case in which you have and he's open to, like most people, open to dialogue, but he insists on Baluch's independence and the right to Baluchis to determine their own destiny.
The recent wave of state-sponsored violence against Baloch kill and dump policy was intensified from July 2010. However, the under-custody killing further accelerated when Pakistan's Interior Minister Rahman Malik has threatened to crush pro-independence Baloch political parties and student organizations during a visit to Baluchistan in September 2010. More than 160 enforced disappeared Baloch have been killed and dumped in deserted areas of Baluchistan. Among these people, 82 have been killed in the first 6 months of the 2011. The victims belong to all walks of life and age group. Children as young as 14 and elderly person as old as 80 years have been abducted, tortured and killed during captivity by Pakistani military intelligence. Abdul Majid Baloch, a member of DSO Azad. DSO Azad is a Baloch student organization who politically supports Baluchistan's independence movement. Was abducted by Pakistani Frontier Corps on 18th October 2007. His bullet-riddled body was found near a river in Chwodhry district on 24th October 2010. Another Baloch youth, Mohammed Khan Zoed, was abducted in July 2010 by Pakistani security forces. His brutally tortured and mutilated body was found on 20th October 2010 near Chwodhry town. Both of them 14 years old. Abid Rasool, a 17-year-old Baloch student, was killed and dumped in Panjgur district on 27th January 2011. Takar Kambar, Asif Karim Baloch, Kayyum Baloch, and several other students of university in Baluchistan were abducted, subjected to brutal torture and killed by Pakistani military intelligence. They have been killed for merely being Baloch and demanding for a free and dignified life for the Baloch people. Lala Hamid Baloch, a journalist, Sadiq Ido, human rights activist, Ilyas Nazar, a writer, Rahmatullah Shaheen, a journalist, Zaman Khan Marri, a lawyer, Ali Jan Baloch, a Balochi and Dravi folk singer, Farooq Ahmad, a poet and a singer, were all arrested and killed under custody by Pakistani military. Ghulam Ahmad Baloch, Lala Munir Baloch, Sher Mohammad Baloch, and Professor Sabah Dashtayari Baloch were all pro-independence political leaders who did not opt for armed struggle. They only addressed massive public gathering and held demonstrations. Still, Pakistani military brutally murdered them. Even older people have not been spared. On May 21st, 2010, leaders of Voice of Baloch Missing Persons were going to Karachi to appear before a judicial commission when their vehicle was targeted by Pakistani security agencies near Kalat town. 82-year-old Bibi Mata Baloch died on the spot and other leaders were seriously wounded. Body of 70-year-old Ahmad Khan Marri was discovered in Lasbela district. On 2nd June 2011, an 80-year-old Baloch, head of his family, Rahim Khan Kalandarani Baloch, is still being held and possibly tortured by the military at some undisclosed location. No one but the occupied state of Pakistan is responsible for such heinous crimes and death and destruction in Baluchistan. In the mind of Baluch people, there has never been a slightest of doubt about who are responsible for miseries and agony of Balochistan. That is Iran and Pakistan. It has been our experience all the way along since the illegal occupation of our beloved motherland. There is nothing new for us. From day one of illegal occupation, they have been following the same policy in Balochistan. However, now the scale of Baloch democratic movement is reaching 4 corners of Balochistan. People from all walks of life are taking part in this freedom movement. Baloch nation is now aware of the occupying state's intention and acts. Baloch have experienced a long history of lies, deception, false promises by the occupying state, and they have now come to the conclusion that enough is enough. Despite all efforts of the occupying state of Iran and Pakistan, Baloch people have never stopped their legitimate struggle for regaining their sovereignty and independence. Because of massive participation of our people in the struggle for freedom, and the Pakistani state have become more fearful and desperate in dealing with Baloch liberation movement. Hence, it is using all tricks and criminal means to keep us under their occupation. The only way forward for us is freedom, democratic and united Balochistan. Democracy and prosperity is impossible in Balochistan under the illegal occupation of fundamental state of Iran and Pakistan. We call for help from secular and democratic forces, such as the international community and the International Human Rights Organization, EU, and the UN, to assist the occupied and oppressed nations. The Kurds, Tamils, Sindhis, Basque people, and the Baloch nation, as the international community, have recently supported the democratic movement of Arab countries. We expect them to support the other occupied nation and democratic movements in the same fashion and not to have double standards. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Can I open it to the audience now? There is time to, what Hedayat said, for you to either ask questions. If you can, ask questions that would be useful, it may be that you need to ask them. I think there's time to ask him some questions, just 2 or 3 questions. Can I invite the audience, please?
Thank you. As some of you know, I've been instructed to write a report on security in Balochistan from Chinese authorities. And obviously the main thrust of my report will be that if the Chinese authorities depend on Pakistani intelligence views of security in the country, and in particular in Balochistan, they won't be able to protect their assets in Balochistan. And there are a number of matters that I have to address that I'm not clear about. One is the role of Chwodhry and the social structures in Chwodhry. The extent to which the Sardars of Chwodhry are or are not tied into the movement for Baluchi nationalism, the extent to which they deal with the provincial government of Balochistan. And the other matter is slightly more complex and broader, which is the whole question of Baluchi relationships with Bhutto nationalism. Some of these questions have been answered. I know that the general line is that there's a total separation of Baluchi nationalism, Bhutto nationalism, if I call it that, rather than the Taliban. But there are apparently overlaps that I don't understand. In particular, recently the Baluchi Liberation Front initially claimed responsibility for the Mehran attack on the Mehran naval base before the consensus focused on Pashtun from the frontier federal administrative frontier territories. So that question of whether there has been any relationship or an emerging relationship between Pashtun forces, whatever label you give to them, and Baluchi nationalism, either in Quetta or in Derabokhti.
Thank you very much.
I've not heard that the front had claimed responsibility that Mehran base. I've not seen that. But
might be a fiction of the Pakistani authorities. Well be something.
Yeah, there has been a campaign by the Pakistani authorities to show the Baloch people as being part of Taliban or being helpful or collaborating or helping out each other in different areas. But Taliban are totally different. Their ideology is different. They are more religious orientated, and Baloch people are more patriotic. They tend to speak about secularism, at the same time freedom of Baluchistan. So we do not share values together. Taliban, their values are totally different than Baloch people. There are elements in Baluchistan, people, individual areas who might support the Taliban, but general public, historically we've never been supportive of those movements.
And Charlie?
Thank you very much.
Charlie is asking about the social structure. Chargi is also a tribal area, like the eastern Baluchistan, and the Sardars, most of the Sardars are at this time helping the Pakistani army for whatever reason, mainly economic reason. But the public, the people have risen up. They are asking for independence, not rights within the Pakistani framework, but rights for independent Baluchistan, a free and democratic Baluchistan, what they are struggling for now.
Thank you very much. We move on to the next question, and I forgot to remind say who you are so people know who you are. Next one, was Amrit.
I'm Amrit Wilson from South Asia Solidarity Group, and I wanted to ask you if you can explain what are the resources in Baluchistan, and is it connected to the pipeline issue and oil and so on? And why is it that both Iran and Pakistan kind of want to grab the region and control it? Is it a question partly of resources?
Mostly it's the question of resources. Balochistan holds a lot of mineral deposits over there, gold, copper, natural gas, petroleum. Then we have got a vast coastal line that's about 1,500 kilometers, Persian Gulf. So these are the reasons historically when the Russian Tsars wanted access to warm waters, and the same reason is there now. The Central Asian wealth, they want to send it to the rest of the world and flow through Gwadar port, through Balochistan. These are the main reason. Again, a transit point for Iranian natural gas, for India and China. So these are all economical reasons which have made Balochistan so important today. Otherwise, it's a regular area, not even, you won't get water for hundreds of kilometers. People have to fetch water, they have to walk for hours and hours. So it's a difficult area, but the main thing is what's underground.
And are the corporates already involved, I mean, in a big way? You know, the big multinationals and so on?
Some multinational companies have already come in, working at Chwodhry, and other projects, and Gwadar itself is being run by a Singaporean port authority. So they are there, but they do not feel the aspiration of Baloch people. They are disregarding that. The Baloch people are speaking one thing, they are asking for one thing, but they say we'll give you jobs. The jobs are not answered to Baloch people's demands. Now we want outright independence from Pakistan, as Pakistan came in forcefully, annexed Baluchistan and occupied Baluchistan 63 years ago. So we are talking about independent Baluchistan as pre-47. We were in